Hey everybody, this is Jessica Lynn from Jessica Lynn Original Studios, and today I'm here as part of Ears to Debate. I decided it would be fun to go live. I thought, you know what, why not? I have wanted to record episode 2, and I thought, you know what, it's time to do this, and we're just going to do it live. So, if you are here with us live, don't be afraid to comment, add your thoughts, and I'll share them up on the screen, and then I'll be sure to respond as I go through. So, I am so excited to have you here today. So, a couple of things about Ears to Debate. This is where Disney Magic meets passionate conversations, right? So, Ears to Debate is a fan hosted Disney Parks podcast that's going to bring devoted fans together to explore, question, and celebrate all things Disney. From classic park traditions to bold new innovations, each episode is going to dive into the hot topics, sharing our favorite vacation kingdoms around the world, parks, movies, everything. Expect a spirited discussion, thoughtful perspectives, and a respectful place where every voice has a chance to be heard. So whether we're debating the pros or the cons of mobile food ordering last time, maybe the deluxe resorts, or the nostalgia of change, this is where we're going to go ahead and have that dynamic dialogue. So, on episode number 2, I am going to say don't forget to share your thoughts below. Join in on the conversation because your voice matters. Now, I do want to take just a quick moment and thank those of you that have listened to episode 1. On episode 1, we went ahead and we talked about a couple of things. We did talk about whether we liked mobile ordering, and it was fun because, and hopefully everybody can hear me pretty good. I got the music turned off. I got the sound on. Yep, so we should be good. We talked about mobile ordering, we talked about hotel upgrades, and then nostalgia of the parks. Now I am going to just hit play really quick here because I just want to make sure I can hear. Perfect. I hear my audio on there. All right. So I do want to take just a few moments to thank some people who joined us. Now they weren't part of the actual episode, but they did comment down below. So I want to take a moment and thank those people. So first we've got I am going to WDW. Love it. She is a channel member. So thank you for being a member of our channel. We appreciate you. And so she is talking about nostalgia, I'm assuming here. So let's see. I remember Pocahontas Breakfast, of course. For topic number 3, yep, she's talking about nostalgia. They do need to keep evolving. The Muppets are a good example where you said it's not connecting to kids now. I don't think that kids today can build the same kind of memories that current adults did if they're not engaged in the subject. And unfortunately, if they don't care about the Muppets, they won't be nostalgic for them later. But they might make those nostalgic memories from the things they do care about, if that makes sense. So completely, thank you. I'm going to WDW, not only for being a member here in our channel, but also for your feedback. And I agree with you. I think there are a lot of things that you could say, parents bring with them. So, for example, my mother loved Elvis and Neil Diamond. And I thought for sure my kids would never love that stuff. And I've shared the music with them enough. I've shared who the person was, why she loved those people. And now I can turn on any Neil Diamond song and my 8-year-old knows every word. And it's so cool to have that sort of transposing forward. Let's see. The other comment we had was from LQ9, room decor. So we're talking about the actual decor in the hotels and their upgrades. So this is, again, we're replying to last week's episode number 1. LQ9 says, room decor. I have been let down a bit by some of the decor, mainly when the room doesn't feel special. Copper Creek, May of 2025, was a disappointment in this regards because I'm thinking the boardwalk might be too. On the flip side, the Riviera is still my favorite. It feels both Disney and upscale in a way that sets the bar for me when judging other deluxe resorts. While I haven't stayed there yet, the Bay Lake refurbishment looks great, but I can't wait to go in the spring. Their mirror etching in the bathroom, the Space Mountain lampshade, and the splashes of color, the room tours I've seen do impress me. So I believe like with the deluxe resumes rooms, I feel like across the board, if you sort of look at everything that's going on with all of the room upgrades, not necessarily just the deluxe, but even some of the middle rooms, like the mid rooms, Port Orleans, etc. They all sort of have that generic feel, and I really enjoy a beautifully maintained room that has some specialty decor. So thank you so much for your feedback, LQ9. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing how your next trip goes. So good luck with that. And I'm sorry that Copper Creek wasn't impressive. I went and stayed at Copper Creek, and I actually really enjoyed that one. I mean, the room was okay. It wasn't old school wilderness lodge, but it definitely was. At least it had some wilderness type stuff. All right. So today we have two topics to talk about, and I only went with two because I thought if we're live today while we're recording this podcast, I want to have time to be able to respond to your comments. So if you comment, say hi, tell us you're here, and it will show up in the chat on the right-hand side of our screen. And then I can go ahead and respond to you, and we can interact that way. The goal down the road is to be able to actually open this up and allow guests to join me on my podcast. So if you are interested in that, toss me a message. I would love to talk with you, and we'll go ahead and get started. So, first thing we're going to talk about today is single rider lines. Pros and cons. So, little bit of history. Let's talk first about single rider. Now, I'm going to just start only in the parks in the United States. So, at Disney World down in Florida, there were only a couple of permanent single rider lines. Now, for example, a couple of them have been testing single rider, but they haven't been consistent. So, consistent single rider lines down in Florida would be Rock and Roll Roller Coaster, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Now, it wasn't for a while, but it has been back. Rise of the Resistance, again, that was being tested out. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Test Track, and Expedition Everest. Now, I will tell you, Expedition Everest, my family doesn't like that ride. So I love it. And I love the single rider. There was one time I actually went on the Expedition Everest ride. I think it was at 9 or 10 times. And by the time I was done, it was funny because all of the Disney cast members knew who I was. They were like, "Come on through one more time." And it was funny because when you got up to the line, every time they saw me, they go, "All the single riders, all the single riders." And I'm like, "Well, yes." But it was just me. So it was fun. Other single rider things that they've tested has been Soarin', Avatar, Space Mountain, and then obviously, Rise of Resistance or Ratatouille have kind of been testing, but they're more consistent now. So typically, the single rider line is a dedicated line where if it's only one person, they'd be able to go and take that ride. Now, in Disneyland, California, there are quite a few different locations that have had single rider. Now, again, some of these have changed, but typically it's been the Matterhorn, Millennium Falcon, and Smuggler's Run. They had a Space Mountain single rider. It says here the newest edition with a single rider entrance was Tiana's Bayou and Indiana Jones, which is still in a testing single rider occasionally. So it says on that one you do have to ask cast members if they are running the single rider. So why would somebody be interested in using single rider? 1/3 the standby time, especially during peak hours. It's better to send a ride full than it is to send it empty. And the other thing it's nice, it's best suited when you're flexible about riding solo and you don't worry about missing like the storytelling cue. So for me, I love, like I said, Expedition Everest. The single rider line there, love it. It's fabulous. And you can usually get on within a couple of minutes. What I like about it is that they'll put me wherever is available. So for Disney's purposes, they're sending more full trains. I'm not having to wait in line. And They don't wanna have to go, "Okay, is there one person? One person? Any one person? Okay, cool, come on up here." So I think single rider is a great the other one too I've seen single rider on is, Toy Story Mania. So I think single rider is a great option, and if I missed any, I'd love for you to comment down below. I think I had all of them in there. But I think single rider is a great option, and I wish they actually offered it on more rides. I understand why they don't, and there are some rides where they're definitely more family friendly. So what are the odds that it's going to be odd numbers of people on the ride where there might be a single person left out? Um, I don't know. I don't know what those stats and those facts are, but I can definitely tell you that there have been times, for example, as a parent with kids, there was a time when my kids were scared to death to go on some of those rides. And so for me, it was wonderful to be able to go late at night or late, whenever. So if the kids were relaxing or taking a nap, I could go into the park for a couple hours, or if the whole family was there, it would be great where I would be able to just sort of go on the rides. Um, for those of you who have kids or have had kids in the parks, worst system in the whole wide world is baby swap. Um, it is the worst system in the world, and this is on any ride. At Disney, I remember they used to let you go through the ride, and then they would walk over the ride and then wait, and then we'd swap. And then they changed it where it was, "Well, you get in line, and then when you're done, then they get kind of a fast pass-ish, but it's still a line." And I remember, I wanna say it was Avatar. So Pandora. I think it was Pandora. And, I remember we were all excited, and the line for me was an hour and a half, and I'm like, "Well, okay, now there's an hour and a half away from my kid and my husband, and then while I'm waiting, then they're doing whatever. She's getting fussy." And so then when I got off the ride, he was like, "I'm already done, she's done. We don't wanna do this anymore." And we had kind of the conversation that it was like, "Okay, well, this is miserable." And we said, "Okay, well, how long is the fast pass line now that he could get in?" And they were like, "Well, it's at least a good half an hour." And so there was 2 hours where my young daughter, who was, you know, had to just kinda hang out. Now we did our best to try and entertain, but, when you're down in Florida, hot sun, I don't know, that system is the worst. So I got diverted, I apologize. So that's the one thing I do like about single rider is that if there is a ride where maybe I can get on quickly, and I remember on that same trip, I was able to go on Everest multiple times without her even getting fussy. And my husband, just hung out with her and it was totally fine. And we found that faster than baby swap. So I would love to hear from you. If you are here today, please comment hello, say hi. I'd appreciate hearing from you. Glad to have those of you with us here on the live Ears to Debate. Um, this is episode number 2, and we are in the process. I'm hoping to be able to get it to the point where we're able to build this up and have more people join us and actually have people join us live. If you just joined us, please say hi so we can go ahead and get your name up there and we can acknowledge that you're here. All right. So, as far as I'm concerned, the cons to single rider, you might think, oh, it's going to delay the line. You could say, do people get in that line? Like, test track, right? Let's talk about test track single rider. So, version 2.0 test track had the single rider, and I don't know. And I understand, people would try to get in that line so they could hopefully get to ride together. But I just remember being in line, and this was probably about, mm, I'm going to say maybe 9 years ago. Okay. And so it was a while ago, a couple days ago. And I remember they said, as you got into the single rider queue, you will not ride with anyone. And I was like, whoa, okay. I don't know anybody around me anyway, because it was just me. But it was very, you will not. So obviously, people were trying to do that to reduce the timeline. I think if people go into the single rider queue understanding that the odds are you're probably not gonna get to ride together, and then if you do, that's just a perk. I think about being out in Disneyland, California, and on the Cars ride, I've also seen that one where people, would try to do single rider, and most of the time, they kind of ended up together. And I remember there was a couple that they were single rider, and they ended up with us because there's 4 of us, and obviously that car holds 6, so the 2 of them, 1 front, 1 back with us, and the husband and the wife both got on, and they're like, "Yes, we all made it together." And, being scarred from Test Track, I was kinda like, "Shh, don't say that out loud," right? But I think that's the whole thing about single rider is I think more rides should offer it. I would love to hear what you think. I think that it's a wonderful perk. I think you should know though a test rider, or I'm sorry, if you are a test rider, that's test track and single rider mixed together. If you're doing a single rider, I think you should just know though that you are literally the filler, right? So if there's an open seat, you get to go. If not, you gotta wait. They're not gonna try and clear that line. Um, so I love single rider. I think it's a great option. And as far as Disney, it's a win-win for them, I think, because then if they send let's say every time they send Space Mountain the train, it costs pennies on the dollar, right? Well, fill it up is such a better deal than not filling it up, right? You get your value, and the guests are happier. They're moving through rides faster. They can talk about being on more rides within the day. So that is my thoughts on that. So I would love to know what you think about single rider. I would love to know, have you ridden single rider? Do you like single rider? Do you not like single rider? Do you have a fun story that you want to share? In my next episode, I will read your comments. So please go ahead and share them. Or if you're with me live right now, please go ahead and share your thoughts too, because I would love to hear from you. I love being able to share your comments and your thoughts. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do comment. Just know it will show up on the screen. Boom, there it is. So if you are watching this live and you want to just say hi, go ahead and do it. It'll show up in the bottom right-hand corner. I would love to acknowledge your presence with me here today. If you're interested in being a guest, comment that down below and I will follow up with you as well. All right. So, topic number 2 for tonight. And I'm trying to keep these to about a half an hour or so. So, we'll keep on moving forward. So, the next one I want to talk to you a little bit about is the brand new uh, evening parade at Walt Disney World, Florida. So I am a huge fan of Spectral Magic. Um, I think a nighttime parade is just something the parks need. I think that it brings something special to the Magic Kingdom, or even to Disneyland, or even to DCA, or any of them. I think that a nighttime parade just feels magical, right? No matter what it is, it just feels magical. So when we lost Spectral Magic, I was so sad. Like that to me, every time I hear the music, I get emotional. I think it has to do with the fact that that was the nighttime parade of my childhood, and I don't know, there was something just magical about it. The fish that winked at you, it had genie in there, and it was just beautiful, right? It was just beautiful. And the music, the score, if you've never heard it, please, please, please go out and find that and listen to it. It's beautiful. So I was sad when we got the Main Street Electrical Parade for a couple of years. It was okay. It's fine. I'm kind of bummed because they spent all that money to create that new It's a Small World float, when it re-debuted in Disneyland, and, I'm sad that, that didn't come over. Like, I would love if that would have joined our Disney Starlight Parade. That would have been really fun. What a fun way to bring just something extra, which I understand, though. They do what they do. So, a couple of facts about the new Disney Starlight Dream. So, what I want to know is, what do you think of it? Have you seen some POV videos online? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like the floats? So let's just talk about it really quick. So the official debut day was July 20th. So that was Sunday of 2025. It had had a few soft openings earlier, and it had actually been the very first scheduled nighttime parade at the Magic Kingdom. The Main Street Electrical Parade ended in 2016. So almost a decade later, I mean, that's a whole series of kids who never experienced an evening parade at Disney World. The whole show is based on the Blue Fairy. So the parade's narrative is initiated and powered by the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio, and she brings different points of light to each float to bring them alive. What I like is that it does have a modern feel, but a bit of nostalgia. So just like episode one, right? It pays homage to the predecessors like the Main Street Electrical Parade and Spectrum Magic, while advancing all of the lighting, video panels, and cutting edge technology. There's currently 11 elaborate floats. There's 2 shows a night. The plan is to have them at 9 and 11. The second show keeping the park open later, so I'm excited that that's happening. The parade travels from Main Street toward Frontierland, and that's to improve guest flow and create a magical finale near the castle. It's weird because the parade features a reverse route through the hub, offering new angles and perspectives. It has an original musical score that gives a nod to classical parades, new sweeping themes, the floats, and the costumes shimmer. And then obviously there's all kinds of new merch. So when we talk about a nighttime parade, if you have seen it, I would love to hear from you. Again, if you are live with us, please go ahead and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. So I will share a little bit of my initial thoughts on it. Obviously, number one, I love a nighttime parade, just like I said before. I love the idea that the Blue Fairy is bringing everyone's wishes to life. That's an interesting thought and an interesting way to say that it meets and pays a homage to the predecessors. I say yes ish. Um, I see where they're coming from. I like that it's a nighttime parade. I do like that there's multiple floats. I personally feel like when I've watched some of the POVs, I feel like it's missing something, and I'm not sure what it is. Um, so I watched one video where it was really close and from right next to the parade. Like if you were in the front row looking up, it's very busy, right? So like I'm talking about, let's talk about like the princess float. So the float that has Sleeping Beauty, Tiana, Belle, and who's on the end there? Cinderella. So it has those 4. And when you think about that one, when you were looking at the POV that I saw from like right at the parade level, the parade float is so busy that it's really hard to see the princesses. Earlier today, I watched another version where somebody was back, probably about 10 people. And when you're back about 10 people, you could see them 100% better. So sight lines are tough, depending on where you're standing. I feel like that float in particular, there's these like swirly things that kind of come up between the princesses. And I almost feel like that needs to be less so that you can actually see them because there's so much going on. And then they have chandeliers and lights and extra things. It almost reminds me a little bit of a Project Runway moment. For those of you that ever used to watch that show, I remember they always were like, edit yourself, edit yourself. And I feel like maybe they didn't edit that float because it's really busy. The other thing that's a little odd to me too is that the lights are stunning and they're beautiful and they're bright. But the problem I have is they feel like those really bright new LED Christmas lights you can get. I mean, I don't know if you guys have bought the new Christmas lights. The older ones had kind of a yellow, warm white glow. And the new one seems to have this like stark white, like super oversaturated look. And I feel like every time the parade floats go white, it's almost like, and I haven't seen it in person. This is only my, from what I've seen, it's almost like blinding, right? And then you kind of lose the characters in there because then they're in similar colors, which is very much like Spectrum Magic, where it would go between everything in white and then it would change to color. So I get that reference. Um, but I don't want you to think that I don't like anything. I absolutely love a ton of this parade. I love, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I absolutely loved Wish. Animation style and the way it felt like fabric, if that made sense. Um, and I love that she's in it. Like, why not? I think there are a lot of other unrepresented characters or IP that really could have more of a focal feature, but I really like that she got her own small, float. Now, with that being said, I love Wish. I love all the characters, and my favorite is the star. And I feel like he's in this tiny little tree that's hard to see. And so I really wish she was either holding him or he was much bigger or something like that, because I'd love to see him more, because he was really what made that movie. He added some extra humor. It's kind of like watching Pocahontas. I think that's why they added Miko and Flit, and because they needed some more humor, because everyone was very, you know, serious. If we go to the next floats, I loved the princesses. I loved Peter Pan's float. I thought that was really cool. Encanto, the candle in the middle, I loved that. Um, it was interesting to me that, I mean, I understand why they picked, the characters they did, but there's a whole lot of family members that were left out. Elsa, always love a good Elsa. And I love the fact that Disney World finally is acknowledging that Elsa has moved forward. I feel like Elsa and Anna have been trapped in the wardrobe from the episode, or from the movie. Was the episode one from the first movie, and they're constantly wearing those same outfits. So it's so nice to see them wearing other things in the parks. Considering that, I absolutely, I wish that they did was for Elsa and Anna. I wish they would have them wear their spring flower dresses, their summer stuff, their fall stuff, and then go into the Christmas stuff too, like round robin. Now, I know that at the Christmas show, they do that at Hollywood Studios, so they do a little of that, but I feel like every time I see the girls, they're always kind of in their basic stuff. So it's nice to see her in her white dress, just like at Fantasmic. So that's kind of nice. Let's see, what else do I like? Oh, there's dancers in between, which is very remnant of both of Spectrum Magic and Main Street Electrical Parade. But I felt like their costumes were a little dark and hard to see. Um, if you watch one of the POVs that someone has done, they're in like blue suits with blue dresses with like blue lights. And there's not enough contrast to bring it forward. So I feel like they need to lighten up a little bit as well. The train, you know what? I wasn't sure I was going to love him, but I absolutely love him. He is one of my favorites. And at first I was like, I don't know about that face. Completely addicted. I think he's adorable, and he needs to be on like all the t-shirts. That last float, I think it is so cool. And if I, as a little kid, I can only imagine a tiny me going, oh, like everybody's up there, Um, I do feel that Rapunzel and Flynn, they're one of my favorites. I wish they would have gotten their own small float, Encanto style, or Elsa. Maybe Elsa could have been on the float with the others, and Flynn and Rapunzel could have had their own float. I say that only because they don't have their own ride, and bathrooms to me just don't count. So I would have loved to have seen them in their own float. That would have been nice. Because I feel like the boat, if you look at it, it kind of's turned up a little bit, so it's hard to see Flynn, and that's a bummer because he's my favorite. But it is what it is. At the end, I love the fact that they have the name of the parade at the end of the float. That's kind of fun, and it shows up in photographs often that I've seen behind the train. So I think that that's cool from a perspective of how imagery looks. Um, Something that I think that I never understood, but now I totally get why, is that route and float. Having it going from Main Street to Frontierland. when the people are done, if they choose to leave, that's genius. I mean, for how many parades come and go two different directions and the flow of people constantly gets trapped. So I think that that's great. I think having it reverse through, I love having it have different angles. I think that's kind of cool too. Um, the music itself, the first time I heard it, I fell in love with it. I loved it. Um, but the only thing that's weird on the parade route when you hear it, in other parades, the characters' music joins in as well. So sometimes it'll go from that music, and I would love to hear more of each of the different characters' music. But again, these are all just little things. I think having a nighttime parade at the Magic Kingdom is something that we needed so bad. And I cannot wait to finally go and see it in person. I've had quite a few friends send me videos. And from what I can see, it's beautiful. Um, like I said, I think there is something to be said about a nighttime parade in the Magic Kingdom after you've had hot all day out in the hot sun. And then you kind of just sit there. It's almost like fireworks, right? You sit down and you just relax with your family. And then this beautiful parade comes through. Um, I wish it was a little longer. I wish there were a couple more floats or more dancers. But that's sort of my thought. And I would love to hear from you. So if you are here today watching this live, please comment and I will go ahead and respond and share your comments. Or at least just say hi. Love to have you do that as well. If you're watching this on replay or listening to it on replay, not a problem. Awesome. Just please go ahead and still comment down below because you sharing your thoughts is how this continues to move forward. And my goal, like I've said before, is to eventually, have more people join me live. I actually want to have some people that'll show up like I am in the little box and we can just have this sort of discussion because the goal for Ears to Debate is to be able to bring fans together to talk and explore and celebrate all things Disney. And then I want to go ahead and make sure that we're able to, in a positive way, debate the pros and cons of these different topics that we're talking about. So, this is a place where you can share your thoughts in dynamic dialogue or join in the conversation. So, please go ahead and share your thoughts down below. I look forward to episode number 3. I'm getting to work on that, and I'm working on, I might record like once a week, and I'm thinking tonight might be the night, Mondays might be the night, but I'm still working through some of that. But I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. I hope that you, kind of went, "Ooh, Jess, I don't agree," or "Jess, yeah, I really do agree." I want to hear what you have to say. And next episode, I will read through the comments and share some of those with us on episode number 3. I do want to take a moment and just say thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I do a lot of Walt Disney, Disneyland, travel, Wisconsin Dells, which is kind of like Disney in Wisconsin, but at a Kissimmee level, sort of, if that makes sense. For those of you that are Disney fans, that might make sense. Or have traveled to Orlando a lot. But I do a lot of that technical content, and I would love to have you join along. Feel free to please go and watch any of my other videos that are out there, and we will be back again very soon. Everybody take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.